Breaking. King Charles just issued a royal decree so devastating it could end Keir Starmer's career within 72 hours. The Prime Minister attempted something no British leader has dared in 300 years. He tried to ban the King from London. And what happened next is sending shockwaves through every corner of Westminster. Palace insiders say Charles looked physically shaken when he read Starmer's memo. Now the monarchy is preparing a counterattack that could shatter Labour forever. If you want to see how this constitutional war ends, hit that subscribe button right now, because the next 48 hours will determine Britain's future. Here's what sparked this unprecedented crisis. Last Tuesday at 9:47 a.m., Keir Starmer sent a confidential memo to Buckingham Palace. His words were stunning, absolutely chilling. The document demanded that King Charles cancel all royal engagements in London for the next 3 months. No ceremonies, no appearances, no visibility. Starmer's justification? The King's presence creates security complications for Labour's reform agenda. But Charles wasn't about to accept being sidelined. The King refused the demand outright. Within 2 hours, he'd scheduled 5 new London appearances, including a surprise visit to East End veterans. That single decision ignited the biggest constitutional battle since the abdication crisis. His exact words were chilling when Charles addressed his private council that afternoon. Sources inside Buckingham Palace describe a monarch transformed, no longer the patient diplomat but a defender of the crown itself. "I will not be instructed where I may or may not serve my people," Charles declared with barely controlled fury. "This office predates Parliament by centuries. Mr. Starmer seems to have forgotten that fundamental fact." The response was swift and devastating. Within hours, the hammer fell. Sir Clive Alderton, the King's private secretary, hand-delivered a letter to Downing Street that constitutional experts are calling nuclear. The 5-page document systematically dismantled every legal argument Starmer's team had constructed. According to senior palace sources, the letter's final paragraph was particularly brutal, reminding the Prime Minister that royal prerogatives exist independently of parliamentary approval. One aide who read it said the language was so forceful it made previous royal rebukes look like polite suggestions. The optics for Starmer are absolutely catastrophic. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Documents obtained by palace staff reveal that Starmer's ban wasn't just about security or reform. It was about control. The memo explicitly stated that royal appearances were undermining Labour's messaging and creating what they called problematic nationalist sentiment. Translation? Too many British people love their king, and that loyalty threatens Starmer's progressive agenda? Senior Labour strategist Morgan McSweeney allegedly wrote in an internal email that the monarchy represents everything Labour needs to dismantle: traditional authority, inherited privilege, and unearned respect. That email, leaked to The Telegraph on Wednesday morning, ignited a firestorm. Conservative MP Jacob Rees-Mogg read portions aloud in Parliament, his voice dripping with contempt. "They don't just want to sideline the king," he thundered. "They want to erase the very concept of monarchy from British consciousness." The gallery erupted. Even neutral observers admitted the evidence looked damning. If Labour's true agenda is dismantling constitutional monarchy piece by piece, then this isn't a security issue. It's a revolutionary power grab disguised as administrative necessity. Meanwhile, British veterans who served in the Falklands, Iraq, and Afghanistan are watching this unfold with growing disgust. James Morrison, a 6-7-year-old former Royal Marine from Portsmouth, spoke through tears yesterday. "We didn't fight for this country so some politician could tell our king where he can and cannot go," he said outside the Imperial War Museum. Morrison served 22 years, earned 3 commendations, and now survives on a pension that barely covers his rent. He represents thousands of servicemen and women who see this as the ultimate betrayal. While Starmer and his inner circle enjoy taxpayer-funded security details, chauffeur-driven cars, and grace and favour residences, veterans like Morrison struggle to heat their homes. We're talking about cabinet ministers living in luxury apartments that cost £4,000 per week to maintain, dining at exclusive Westminster restaurants, attending £500 per plate fundraisers. The contrast is so grotesque, so fundamentally wrong, that even traditional Labour supporters are turning against their own party. Retired Sergeant Major Patricia Hughes from Durham put it perfectly. "I voted Labour my whole life. But this attack on our monarchy? This is unforgivable. They've lost me forever. The veterans aren't just angry, they're organising." A group calling themselves Defenders of the Crown has launched a nationwide petition demanding Starmer's immediate resignation. Within 48 hours, they collected 387,000 signatures. Former Army Colonel Richard Kemp, who commanded British forces in Afghanistan, appeared on BBC Breakfast, looking genuinely heartbroken. "In 30 years of service, I never questioned my government's respect for the Crown," he said, voice breaking. "Now I don't recognise this country." His interview went viral, shared 2.1 million times across social media. Buckingham Palace received so many flowers, letters, and messages of support that staff had to set up additional collection points. One card from a 73-year-old widow in Cornwall read simply, "Your Majesty, we stand with you against these people who hate everything we are." That sentiment is spreading like wildfire through communities that Labour once dominated. Then something unprecedented happened that nobody saw coming. King Charles broke 70 years of royal protocol with a move so bold it left constitutional experts speechless. At yesterday's Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey, he delivered what palace insiders are calling the speech of his reign. Standing before assembled dignitaries, Commonwealth representatives, and television cameras broadcasting to 50 countries, Charles spoke with controlled intensity that made every word land like a hammer blow. "Service to this nation is not a privilege granted by politicians," the king declared with unmistakable steel in his voice. "It is a sacred duty that transcends temporary governments and fleeting political wins. Those who serve understand this. Those who seek only power never will." The abbey fell silent. You could hear people breathing. Every person in that ancient building understood exactly who Charles meant. The analysis of those words reveals devastating hidden meaning. Charles didn't name Starmer, but he didn't need to. He just told the entire world that his Prime Minister values power over service, politics over duty, ambition over tradition. Palace insiders reveal that Charles personally rewrote that section of the speech 6 times, removing diplomatic softeners, adding sharper language, ensuring no one could miss his message. Senior advisors tried to talk him out of it. He overruled them all. The optics are devastating for Starmer and catastrophic for Labour. What happened immediately after that speech proves how completely Starmer miscalculated. Prince William, who rarely involves himself in political matters, made an unscheduled appearance at a military hospital in Woolwich. Speaking to wounded veterans, he said something extraordinary. "My father and I will always be wherever Britain needs us most. No memo will ever change that." The message was unmistakable. The entire royal family was now united against Downing Street. Princess Anne cancelled a private engagement to attend an unexpected ceremony honouring the household. Cavalry. Even Prince Edward, typically the least visible royal, suddenly appeared at 3 public events in 2 days. The palace wasn't just pushing back, it was launching a full coordinated campaign. Royal photographers captured images of Charles meeting ordinary Britons, shaking hands, listening to concerns, being everything a monarch should be. The visual contrast was devastating. Charles looked compassionate and connected. Starmer looked petty and power-hungry. The domino effect began immediately, and it's accelerating beyond anyone's control. Financial markets reacted first. The pound sterling dropped 2.3% against the dollar within 90 minutes of Charles's speech. £8.7 billion wiped from the FTSE 100 by market close. Currency traders cited constitutional uncertainty and political instability. Then the political fractures began spreading through Labour like cracks in breaking ice. 7 backbench MPs have now publicly broken ranks with Starmer. Veteran Labour member Graham Stringer called the attempted royal ban the stupidest political decision in modern history. Sarah Champion, MP for Rotherham, said she received 847 emails from constituents demanding Starmer apologise, and only 3 supporting him. International reactions came next, and they're uniformly damning. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese cancelled his planned state visit to Britain, citing scheduling conflicts that nobody believes. Canadian officials leaked concerns about constitutional stability affecting trade negotiations. New Zealand's parliament passed a motion supporting constitutional monarchy by 87 votes to 33. #Defend the King trended globally for 36 consecutive hours, generating 14.3 million tweets. Protests erupted across Britain simultaneously. Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, Cardiff, Newcastle, every major city saw thousands march supporting the monarchy. In Liverpool, traditional Labour heartland, 6,000 people gathered outside the town hall, waving Union Jacks and singing God Save the King. Polls showed the unthinkable. A Sunday Times survey revealed 68% of Britons believe Starmer should resign over this crisis. His approval rating collapsed from 41% to 23% in 5 days, the fastest prime ministerial decline ever recorded. Inside number 10 Downing Street, the atmosphere has turned toxic and desperate. Ministers are barely speaking to each other except in savage whispers. Cabinet Secretary Simon Case allegedly slammed a folder onto the table during Tuesday's emergency meeting and shouted that Starmer had created an unsolvable disaster. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner was overheard in the corridor telling shadow cabinet members that loyalty has limits and those limits have been reached. WhatsApp groups with names like Last Stand and Emergency Response are lighting up with messages about replacing Starmer before he destroys the party completely. The question isn't if they'll move against him, it's when, and that moment is approaching faster than anyone predicted. Foreign Secretary David Lammy looked physically ill during yesterday's press briefing. Sources say he could barely make eye contact with journalists. Defence Secretary John Healey has stopped defending Starmer entirely, instead pivoting every question to military readiness and avoiding the constitutional crisis altogether. 3 junior ministers have drafted resignation letters. They're waiting for the right moment, the final straw that gives them cover to abandon ship. That moment is coming. Everyone can feel it. The cabinet isn't governing anymore. They're plotting survival strategies while their prime minister burns every bridge he has left. The chaos behind closed doors gets worse. Sources describe Starmer as increasingly paranoid, convinced that everyone around him is plotting betrayal. He's right. Chancellor Rachel Reeves held a 3-hour dinner at her Notting Hill townhouse Wednesday night. 10 senior Labour MPs attended. No cabinet ministers were invited. No agenda was published. But everyone knows what they discussed. Reeves is positioning herself as the unity candidate, the leader who can heal Labour's wounds and restore constitutional normalcy. She's been making calls to trade union leaders, reassuring them that she respects tradition and understands working-class values. One union boss told The Guardian that Reeves promised her first act as Prime Minister would be a personal apology to King Charles. Meanwhile, Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson has stopped attending cabinet meetings altogether, claiming illness that nobody believes. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper was spotted leaving Parliament through a side entrance at 11 p.m. Thursday, minutes after meeting with 6 backbenchers known for their independence. The plotting isn't even secret anymore. It's happening in plain sight while Starmer pretends everything is fine. But here's the part that could end Starmer's career permanently, possibly within days. Leaked cabinet. Documents show that Starmer's team knew this would explode. They just didn't care. Internal memos obtained by The Times reveal that senior advisers warned Starmer repeatedly that demanding the King leave London would trigger exactly this catastrophe. Policy Director Claire Ainsley wrote a 9-page analysis detailing how public opinion would turn savage, how constitutional experts would condemn it, how even Labour voters would see it as unconscionable overreach. Starmer's response. According to 3 people who attended the meeting, the monarchy needs to understand who's actually in charge here. If these documents are real, and if they show what multiple sources claim, then Starmer deliberately chose this confrontation, knowing it would damage Britain. Think about what that means. Your Prime Minister consciously decided that humiliating the King mattered more than national stability, more than party unity, more than public trust. He gambled everything on a power play and lost. Spectacularly. The optics of that would be absolutely devastating for any politician, but for a Labour Prime Minister who once pledged to restore trust in government, it's career suicide. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Rishi Sunak is carefully positioning himself as the voice of constitutional sanity. While Starmer crashes and Labour rebels plot their coup, Sunak appears measured, dignified, respectful of tradition. During Prime Minister's questions yesterday, he didn't even attack Starmer directly. He simply asked, "Does the Prime Minister regret attempting to exile our monarch from his own capital?" The restraint was masterful. No mockery, no grandstanding, just one devastating question that Starmer couldn't answer. The quote landed like a thunderbolt. Even Labour MPs winced. The polls tell the story that terrifies Downing Street. Conservatives have surged to 38% support, their highest number in 18 months. Labour has cratered to 24%, losing ground to both Tories and Liberal Democrats. For the first time since the 2024 election, voters prefer Sunak to Starmer by a margin of 52% to 31%. In traditional Labour strongholds like County Durham and South Yorkshire, the Conservative lead has expanded to double digits. Sunak isn't just recovering from defeat, he's positioning for a comeback that seemed impossible 3 months ago. The former Prime Minister looks like Britain's adult in the room, while Starmer resembles an impulsive child, throwing tantrums at constitutional traditions he doesn't understand or respect. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is also capitalising brilliantly on Labour's collapse. While avoiding direct attacks on the monarchy, Farage has positioned himself as the voice of ordinary Britons disgusted by elite contempt for tradition. At a packed rally in Stoke-on-Trent Thursday night, he spoke to 4,000 people who chanted, "God save the King," for 5 straight minutes. Farage didn't interrupt them. He stood silently, hand over heart, letting the moment speak for itself. When the crowd finally quieted, he said just 8 words. "This is what they fear most." The crowd erupted again. Reform UK membership applications crashed their website twice in 24 hours. Donations poured in at record levels. Polling shows Reform gaining ground in 43 constituencies, most of them Labour seats. Farage isn't just a protest vote anymore. He's becoming a genuine threat to both major parties. And he's doing it by simply respecting what millions of Britons hold sacred while Starmer attacks it. The next 72 hours are critical, and what happens could reshape British politics for a generation. Parliament reconvenes Monday morning, where Starmer faces hostile questions from his own benches, savage attacks from opposition, and media scrutiny that borders on public execution. The King has scheduled another London appearance for Wednesday, a deliberate challenge that Starmer cannot stop. Labour's National Executive Committee meets Thursday to discuss what they're calling leadership concerns, which everyone understands means discussing Starmer's removal. 3 cabinet ministers are reportedly preparing to resign simultaneously if Starmer doesn't apologise to the King publicly and unconditionally. The question is no longer whether Starmer survives. It's how catastrophic his downfall becomes. It's whether he destroys the Labour Party completely on his way out. Britain is watching a Prime Minister self-destruct in real time, attacking institutions that have survived wars, depressions, and revolutions. This crisis will be studied for decades as the moment a modern leader forgot that some traditions exist because they work, because they unite, because attacking them destroys everything. At its epicenter stands Keir Starmer, who looks increasingly isolated, desperate, and finished. So here's the question that matters. Does Starmer resign before he's forced out? Or does Labour's cabinet do what needs doing and remove him themselves? Did the Prime Minister just commit the greatest political blunder in modern British history, or is there some strategy we're all missing? What do you think happens in the next 72 hours? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this constitutional crisis shocked you as much as it shocked us, share it with everyone who needs to see what's really happening in Westminster right now. The mainstream media won't tell you how close we are to a complete government collapse, but we will. Tomorrow we'll reveal the leaked WhatsApp messages that prove Labour's cabinet is already choosing Starmer's replacement. You won't believe who's leading the coup.